What's going on, everyone? So today we're going to be working on a process that I've been interested in for years now. Taking various colors and a vacuum and infusing it into the wood, so when I turn or work the wood, the color stays through the entire thickness. Now, I've been doing research on this process and various attempts at it for roughly 2 years now, and despite all of that time and all of that research and everything, I hadn't quite figured out the right consistency for the actual material to use, the liquid to use to actually infuse it with the setup I have. However, I have recently found out that denatured alcohol and food coloring works out absolutely fantastic with one species of wood that I've found so far. Is poplar. It is just regular old poplar, which is great too, because around here where I live in Western New York, I can get poplar for $2.80 a board foot. I'm going to change the camera over. I gotta grab the die that we're working with first. So I found out that you can get gallons, yes, gallons, of food coloring from this website called Webstaurant. Okay, so how this process is going to work is I have this container here just to hold everything in so I don't have to clean this nearly as much, and I'm actually going to make an entire batch using the entire 1 gallon of denatured alcohol for this, because I plan on storing this back in this container afterwards and doing more of it in the future. So let's just go ahead and fill this up. Now, I'm actually being a little bit of an idiot. I should have grabbed gloves before I started pouring this and everything, so I'm gonna go grab gloves right now. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, got the gloves on, let's go ahead and open this up. Now, with this, like anytime you mix any colored dyes together, the more of the color you put in, the darker the color is going to be. The less you put in, the lighter color is going to be. For this particular batch, I am going to want a darker green. I'm getting ready for show season, and I do a lot of Celtic and Irish related style festivals. So green goes really well there, as you would expect. So we're just going to eyeball it. There really is no measuring of this stuff. So that should be good. Maybe a little more. Again, there's no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing in terms of how much I'm pouring in there, just that I know I want a darker color. Stir this around a little bit. And that looks like a nice green color. And it will darken up a little bit, obviously, once we start pushing it through the entirety of the wood. Go ahead and slip this in here as carefully as can be. Okay, I'll put this front and center, and we'll put this over here. For this particular one, I'm going to be getting this set and sorted to make goblets. So I have a piece that is 3 7/8 of an inch wide by roughly 9.5. I believe 9.5. Yep, by 9.5. and the thickness that we're doing is 3/16 of an inch. This just happens to be a thickness that I've used before that when you put them all together, it kind of looks sharp. I did a test with a shot glass using 3/16 of an inch thick and a purple, just as a test piece to see if this was actually a viable solution. So we'll get a little closer up on that. So you get a nice even color throughout the entire thing. So, and that was also the 3/16 of an inch. However, for those of you who like to do segmented turning and things like that, or you want something a little bit thicker, I am happy to inform you that this process, using the poplar, the denatured alcohol, and food coloring, you can actually get it to penetrate all the way through 3/4 of an inch thick. And I have 3/4 by 3/4 stock here at the same 9.5 inches long, and we're going to do a very interesting piece with this as well. So we'll see how this turns out. I haven't done a piece with the 3/4 before, but I know it will penetrate, so we'll stay tuned for that. So we have our pieces here, and I pre-cut them before we started recording, and I have 16 pieces here. And the reason why I have 16 is because at 3/16 of an inch thick material, it takes 21 pieces to make up a blank for a goblet. So I have 16 that are going to be colored and 16 that are, or 15 that are going to be... Well, I'm an idiot. My math is completely off. There's 21 of them, so I need 11 of them to be colored and 10 of them to be non-colored. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And these could just go over here behind me. I'll wear my dunce cap later. Okay, so you just slap them on in here. Okay, now just for this first draw, we're going to leave them like this. We're not going to anchor them down. We will get to that later. Obviously, since you're using food coloring, this stuff is going to get all over the place if you're not careful. So we will slap this on, and I'm actually going to try and get the camera closer so we have an overhead view of this. Okay, so make sure you take off the exhaust cap before starting this. Make sure all your valves are closed, and we'll turn this bad boy on. Now in the beginning, just put a little bit of pressure on while you open up the valve to start drawing a vacuum. And then once your meter starts going up, then you can release, because now it has a seal all the way around. And you'll start to notice that it is bubbling up, and essentially what's happening is as the air is being sucked from the chamber, it's actually pulling the dye into the wood. Now, we're not going to get an even one right now. I'm just merely trying to get it in enough that it will float to the bottom, it'll sink to the bottom on its own, and then we'll have no need for anything to actually hold these down. They'll just be at the bottom themselves. Alright, so the glass seems to be accumulating a little bit of the denatured alcohol, so we're just going to go ahead, just for the camera, we're going to slowly release the vacuum on here. We're going to give that a little clean, and then we're going to start this back up. So, and you can already see, though it is still just on the surface, imagine all of the possibilities that you can do with having this very vibrant, beautiful color permeating through the entire wood. I mean, that right there, just the grain structure and everything still coming through, that excites me quite a bit. So I'm really, really looking forward to turning this into a goblet in the next video. So you can see now, they're basically all the way down, and they're a lot deeper and more submerged than they were before without me doing anything, and that's because they've started to accumulate the alcohol and the food coloring into their system, so it makes them a lot heavier, which means we're on the right track. So we'll close the valve, start this bad boy back up, and we'll open the floodgates to quite literally flood this with alcohol. Okay, so we've had these submerged and sitting in here for roughly an hour. I've switched it over, I've flipped it a couple of times during that time. The one thing that you want to be absolutely careful of is when you are releasing the vacuum, do it slowly. Trying to do it all at once, you can actually see as I'm releasing the vacuum that the solution starts to bubble and move a bit. If you move the gas, or if you move the vacuum too fast, it can actually start spraying all over the place, and then you've got a cleanup job on your hands, and you don't want to do that. So fully done. And grab these. I'm just going to want to hold them for a little bit. They are significantly heavier now, obviously, because they are full of an alcohol solution. But I'm just going to hold these here for a little bit, have some of the stuff filter back into the bucket, because that will make our job a little bit easier when we put them on sticks to let them dry, that it's not dripping all over the place. But so far, looks like we have a nice, beautiful green color, and when we put this with alternating layers of natural wood, I think this will look really, really slick. I'm excited. Okay, so for the time being, we're just going to set these directly off to the side. Hi, future Brian here. As you can see, I've been busy vacuum infusing a ton of stuff. It's been about a week since I have recorded anything in terms of vacuum infusing. I've been letting all of these things dry just to make sure that they come out properly, and when I work with them, they don't have any alcohol solution left in them. During that time, I have found out quite a bit more information about working with Poplar and working with the denatured alcohol solution. First and foremost is, earlier in this video I said that I put the pieces in for roughly an hour, and that seemed to do the trick. And it does work well enough. However, this is what it looks like when it is just in for about an hour, and this is the 3/16 of an inch thick. I cut it in half, thickness-wise, just to see how far it penetrated. Now, this is with no finish on it whatsoever, and this is the other half of it with the finish. Now, it's still green, and it will still work, but it's a relatively faded kind of green. So, just like you would an oil-based stain, the longer you let it sit in the solution, the darker it will be. And what we have right here is the result of it being a little darker. The stuff where my thumb is over here, that's without any lacquer clear coat on, and the stuff over here is with a little bit of a clear coat. So, same thing with 3/4 by 3/4 pieces. I said during the start of the video that you could do 3/4 by 3/4 sections if you wanted to do segmented turning. However, again, mixed results. This one, green in particular, does relatively well. Again, it's still a little bit of a faded green, so the longer you put it in, the darker and the more it will penetrate. It starts to become a little bit of an issue when it comes to, say, lighter colors. And I'm not really sure what exactly causes the issue, but both of these were in the same solution and under the same vacuum, where one has maybe 3/16 of an inch, 1/4 inch penetration, the other one has relatively full penetration throughout the entire thing, but faded. So for lighter colors, I would absolutely recommend more times in vacuum for longer periods of time. You'll just have to play around with it to figure out what works best for you. So, yeah, essentially play around with what you're doing, play around with various colors. Food coloring and denatured alcohol isn't necessarily the only solution. It's just the solution that I happen to find that works right now. I have some other ideas for the future using Kita dye, because Kita dye can be put into an alcohol solution. Maybe that pigment will be a little bit better at penetrating with the alcohol than food dye. That'll be for another video and for another time. I just wanted to touch base with you guys and let you know what I've actually found out. So, and also let me know what you think about these types of videos with me explaining a bunch of things. I know I'm not the greatest at explaining things. I tend to ramble on a bit, but I'm trying to explore new avenues of sharing the woodworking that I do with you, and not necessarily just the finished product, about, you know, how I actually come to the conclusions that I do. So let me know what you think down in the comments below, because I would love to hear your input. I take criticism quite well, so, you know, be as honest with me as you want. I can take it. I'm a big boy. But thank you guys so much for watching. Right now, what I'm going to do is I am actually going to start gluing these up, because now I can actually start making them into another video in which you will see the final product. So, again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.